Hi, I'm Katie. I'm 22 years old and I'm living with bipolar type 1 disorder. I made a previous video briefly describing my experience with it, my diagnosis process, and whatnot. In this video, I want to clarify the differences between my experiences with depression, mania, and hypomania, which are the three criteria for being diagnosed with bipolar 1. So, first of all, the differences between bipolar 1 and 2 is that bipolar 1 you have mania, hypomania, and depression. Bipolar 2 you have hypomania and primarily depression. And then there's something called cyclothymia, which is where you kind of go up and down, up and down, up and down with a little bit of hypomania and a little bit of depression. So I have bipolar 1, which means that I have mania, hypomania, and depression. And mania is a very high, risky, uh, sometimes dangerous euphoria, essentially. Um, Hypomania is a lesser degree of that. Typically, you don't get out of control. You still do some things that are out of character because you have a sense of euphoria and well-being. And then depression, of course, is the typical depression that any other person who is depressed has. You don't have any motivation. You're very sad, very unwell. Um, there are criteria that you can look up and read about all the time saying, people who are manic do this, people who are hypomanic do this, people who are depressed do this. But for me, here's what I experience. Um, my depression gets very deep. It lasts for several weeks. I get unmotivated. I can't focus whatsoever. I mean, I can't read a book. I can't watch television. I can't read my phone. Um, I have no motivation to see people. I want to isolate myself. I don't want to do anything fun. I don't want to do anything to help myself. I don't want to take showers. I don't want to brush my teeth. I don't want to brush my hair. I don't want to get out of bed. Um, in my most depressed states, I have lied on my couch or my bed and just bounce between the two. If I'm awake, I'm on the couch. If I'm trying to go to sleep, I'm in the bed. But that's it. I get up to use the bathroom. That's about it. Uh, either I overeat and I binge eat, or sometimes I don't eat at all. When I do sleep, I'm sleeping for 15 plus hours. Um, I'm just really in a helpless state. And as for what can trigger it, at this point that I'm medicated, it's really random and it's very well controlled. I don't slip into depression hardly ever, but stress is my main trigger, and stress can trigger me to go into any sort of episode, not just depression. But depression is one of the ways it can go if I get too stressed, and that's a trigger for me. Situationally, I kind of have the knowledge from therapy and also medication helping me to where I don't slip too deeply because of something. I'm able to bounce back and I have a normal level of depression, of course, if something sad or bad happens. But true depressive episodes really happen out of nowhere and last for who knows how long. Nothing can really get me out of them. Changing meds helps maybe a little bit, but really just time wears me out of it. Um, Hypomania for me involves a lot of cleaning, a lot of socializing, a lot of shopping, a lot of wanting to travel, just being very active. And I'm not usually an active person. Not to say that I'm lazy or unmotivated, but I tend to want to do more things more in a pressured manner, like I have to do them. I feel like I have to go to the store 3 times a day. I have to clean my entire apartment. I have to do this. I have to do that. Um, Not much change with eating or sleeping. I tend to stay up a lot later, but I don't miss a lot of sleep or anything. Hypomania is triggered by generally nothing. I can't identify any real trigger. I kind of enjoy it because I don't do any of the risk taking activities. I don't really fuck up my life when I'm hypomanic. It just kind of happens. And not to say that I enjoy being bipolar, I certainly don't, but it's one of the more enjoyable parts of it. Um, and full mania, um, oh yeah, and hypomania usually only lasts, honestly, it can last a day, it can last 2 days, it doesn't really extend past that. If it does, then it's turning into full on mania. Um, when I experience full-on mania, that's when things start to get dangerous. I get very hypersexual, make stupid decisions because I'm hypersexual about who I sleep with and when. Um, I get very, very stupid with money. I buy things that I don't need. I buy expensive things. I buy things just to buy things. I drain my bank account. I overdraft all on shit I don't need. I take spontaneous trips, not just like out of town. I mean, like to the beach or to Chicago, or I just go um, and drain my bank account in the process, and fuck people in the process, and drug use. Yeah, I'm not really a drug user. I don't even really like smoking marijuana recreationally that often, unless it's at a party, and I really just don't do that a lot, but when I'm manic, there's no limits to. I mean, there is a little bit of a limit. I do have some moral compass still, but I mean, I'm very influenceable, and drug use can be a problem when I'm manic. I don't have any second thoughts about if something's offered to me at a party, should I do it or should I not. I get very experimental, not only with drugs, sex, travel, money. I really don't become myself. I make decisions that I wouldn't make. I call it sober, but it's not necessarily because I'm on drugs, but it's because mania does feel like a high. Um, Talking to people becomes very difficult because I overwhelm people, understandably, because I want to talk all the time, nonstop. I want to bounce from subject to subject. I don't make sense. And sometimes, in extreme cases, my mania can slip into psychosis, where I start hallucinating. Usually not visually, but audioly, yeah, I hallucinate quite a bit. I hear music a lot. I hear people. One second. Sorry. I hear people. It gets kind of chaotic in my head. I get a lot of delusional thoughts and paranoia. I've kind of thought before that I could be on the schizophrenia spectrum because of how extreme the paranoia and hallucinations can be. That's pretty well controlled by my antipsychotics that I take now. Um, as for sleep, what is sleep when I'm manic? I can be up. Definitely the first day that mania sets in, I'm up all night. I will be up most of the next night. Whenever I finally do sleep, I sleep for an abnormally long amount of time, and then I just like restart myself to stay up even longer. If I do sleep, I'll wake up in the middle of the night at like 1 in the morning and say, "All right, let's go. Let's get ready for the day. Let's go." Um, I get off kilter a little bit because I'll start cleaning, but then I'll start reorganizing the entire kitchen or cleaning out the garage or wanting to refurbish furniture, getting a lot of ideas that I can't start. There's actually a commercial for a drug called Vraylar that I've seen recently that, this is my cat that wants to be in this really bad, so here she is. Um, there's a commercial for this drug called Vraylar that I don't like the drug, but I really like the commercial about mania, people just doing nutso things and ordering a bunch of shit they don't need. Um, yeah, that's a pretty good example of what mania is. Um, Very social, and the grandiose thoughts in it. I mean, I've started to write an autobiography probably 7 times. There are probably 7 drafts in my phone, and I only get as far as like 3 paragraphs, and then I give up and lose interest and do something else and start on some other big adventure. Um, and I get really irritable. I get really angry at people who don't deserve it for no reason. Um, and I feel really out of loss of control with my emotions, which is frustrating. And this period of mania can last anywhere from 2, 3 days to a week. A week is usually the longest it goes. I usually end up tiring myself out, actually, and bouncing back in to normal. But one thing that I don't really experience, that I'm thankful for, is a lot of bipolar people, whenever they are in an episode, either depression or mania, whenever they get out of that episode, they bounce from depression to mania or mania to depression. I don't really get that. I just kind of go back to normal, and then I get to sit back and look at everything that I fucked up while I was in an episode. So that's fun. Um, and yeah, like I said, generally my episodes are pretty controlled now because of medication. Um, they still do happen. I've had kind of a little bit of trouble recently with episodes, but they haven't lasted long or been too severe because of medication and, well, I guess just medication and support from family and friends. So, not everyone's mania, hypomania, and depression looks the same, but that's a brief summary of what mine look like. I could probably do a 2 hour long video telling you stories of stupid things I've done while manic or sad things I've done while depressed, but I won't. I want to keep videos that I make short just so they do get watched if someone's like struggling or curious and they don't get intimidated by a like 20-minute video that they don't intend on watching. So that's that on mania, hypomania, and depression. I hope you learned something. I hope that if this is happening to you, you feel less alone, or if it's happening to someone you love, you might understand it a little bit more. Thanks for watching.